Hi, my name is Erin Hymas, and in this video I will be discussing a lesson on how to help grade 5 students use dominoes to discover and visualize the Fibonacci sequence. This lesson is a great way for students to develop their understanding of patterns and work together collaboratively to solve a problem. For this lesson, the only resource that you will need is dominoes. Although some students may find it helpful to have a brightly colored piece of paper or a placemat to complete this activity on, as it will help them to differentiate between each individual domino. When beginning this lesson with students, it is important to have a discussion about their current understanding of patterns and how to form a conjecture from a pattern, as this is a vital skill needed for this activity. A possible way to do this could be to put a practice pattern on the board for students to solve and draw a conjecture from. Following this discussion, you can then introduce the concept of tiling and show students that each square on the domino represents one tile. It is also helpful to note to students that the first number of tiling dimension represents the height, so a 2x5 tiling will be 2 squares tall and 5 squares wide. You can then demonstrate to students by either using a domino or illustrating on the board the possibilities of a 2x1 tiling, which is only 1. Now it is time for students to begin their exploration of the Fibonacci sequence. Create a chart on the board with one column outlining the tiling possibilities from 2x0 to 2x7 or so, depending on how many dominoes are available, and the next column stating the number of possibilities. You may also want to include examples of higher number tilings, such as 2x70 on your chart, so that students can test their conjectures to find the answer. Fill in the 2x1 example that was done in class, and for a 2x0, a 1 can be placed there as well, as doing nothing could be considered a possibility for the sake of this activity, as the Fibonacci sequence begins with a 1 and a 1 as the first two numbers. It is up to your discretion whether you'd like to discuss this with your students, as it may be abstract for some and deter from the activity at hand. Have students separated into pairs and provide dominoes to each group. Encourage students to work towards discovering the possibilities outlined on the board and to use their results to form a conjecture. You may also find it helpful to have students illustrate each possibility in their workbook for a visual reference that explains how they got their answers. Provide students with approximately 20 minutes to complete these steps. When work time is over, gather students as a group again and complete the chart and discuss their findings. Students may find it helpful to have their peers illustrate their tiling possibilities on the board to explain their answers. Encourage students to share their conjectures and test them as a group by using a tiling possibility from the chart that has a known answer. You may also take this opportunity to provide a name and some history about the sequence students have discovered, the Fibonacci sequence, which was discovered by Leonardo Fibonacci in the Middle Ages. Although students may come up with many different explanations for the pattern, the equation that will most likely appear or be easiest to understand is f to the n equals f to the n minus 1 plus f to the n minus 2. Following this, you can model to the class how to solve for a large number in the sequence using this equation. You may also introduce the concept of recursion to your class at this point as well, and outline how this concept describes how the Fibonacci sequence relies on numbers within itself to explain future numbers in the sequence. Now it is time to wrap up the lesson by addressing any questions students may have. A potential future lesson following this one could extend student understanding of Fibonacci numbers by creating a golden spiral that uses Fibonacci numbers as dimensions for each portion of the spiral. That concludes my outline of the lesson. Thank you for viewing my video on how to use dominoes to explain the Fibonacci sequence.